Now, to get to the Pats
Yeah.
autopsy, Jay, I know you're about to go Michael Bodden on us here. So what's going on? Like, what happened? Like, it seems like it's another week of a letdown spot. We thought, okay, they're gonna lick their wounds after the Colts loss. They're gonna rebound. They're gonna lock up the AFC East. 2001 Patriots. Mac Jones looking
Well,
Brady
that's
esque.
exactly right. That's
What
the
happened?
most disappointing part, Puma. I thought we had the 2001 Patriots on our hand here, right? I thought Mac Jones was the next Tom Brady, right?
I mean, that's what they were peddling for a
Dude,
while.
I just don't understand it. I don't understand the narratives that are being built with the Patriot fan base in Boston. Because if you watch Tom Brady, his first year, and you watch Mac Jones, and you think those guys are comparable, then you don't know football. I'm sorry, you simply do not know football. Because what I understand that Tom Brady wasn't asked to do a lot his first year. But there were multiple times that year where they put the team on his back and he either came from behind or he closed out a big playoff game. I mean, he started out with San Diego, they were down by multiple possessions. The day he came in against the Jets, they were down by multiple possessions. I mean, obviously the AFC Championship game, in a driving blizzard with snow and wind, Tom Brady was able to win against the Raiders. We all remember the Tuck Rule game, right? And this kid, Mac Jones, is doing none of that, right? And I think, let me start out by saying this. I think if I had to rate the blame pie for why the Patriots look so inept on Sunday, it would be one Mac Jones and one A defense. They're kind of very close. A lot of people have them, interchangeable, where the defense is one A, defense is one, and Mac Jones is one A. But I choose to have Mac Jones as my number one blame pie for the game. And a lot of it comes down to, I think the guy. I'm getting a sense, Puma, that he's not mentally tough, right? And I say that because usually toughness and, being in those pressure back situations, you learn that over time through repeated experiences, right? Unfortunately, he's never been in a position in his life where he's had a lot of pressure on him besides this year. Like, let's look at his high school years. He was, obviously one of the best quarterbacks in his county and went to the best high school and won a lot. You went to Alabama. You're by far the best team in college football. You were never even down like a big margin, double digits at halftime in any of those games. In your championship game against Ohio State, you were up by like 30 points. I watched it because I was an Ohio State fan. So I just think the kid has never been put through the ringer, right? And he is being put through the ringer now, and I feel like he's faulting because for the last 3 or 4 weeks, man, he's looked borderline trash. He's looked borderline abysmal. His numbers on Sunday were 14 of 32, 145 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And those numbers look better than what he actually played. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
he looked pretty scared out there. And the defense part of it, sure, I get it. Defense had a horrific day. I'll be the first one to say this defense gives off 2019 boogeyman vibes. Looks like they're very fraudulent. Josh Allen did whatever he did. He went up and down the field. He went 7 possessions without a punt. I mean, the whole game he went without punting. That's absolutely unheard of. But my bigger point here is, Kuma, this defense has stood up all year long, right? All year long, they've willed Mac Jones on the offense to wins with 7 straight win consecutive streaks, right? 7 straight wins. At some point, you're going to have to ask Mac Jones to do something. At some point, the defense is going to have a bad day. And obviously, the Buffalo Bills game was a bad day. And he had to do something. He had to pull up that 0-1 Brady-esque, vibe and try to carry the team a little bit. We're not asking him to do that every single week. We're just asking him to fill in the gaps when the defense isn't playing well. Because a lot of these fans up in New England have this idea that if the defense plays great every week and the running attack is going great every week, then we'll be fine. Well, if that's the case, then you can just throw any Joe Schmo in there and we'd win. You know what I'm saying? There will be times in the NFL where your defense is going to get carved up and your offense has to carry you. And so far, Mac Jones has done none of that. Like the whole year, the only time he's had success is when everything's going perfect and the team is rolling like a la the Cleveland Browns game. Other than that, the guy has shown me nothing this year, and it's kind of alarming for our future prospects.
Right. And if all the times of the year to like lay an egg and start getting into the rookie slump is, the last 3 weeks where you were leading the division, you could have sealed Buffalo's fate and put the nail in the coffin, and you win the division. Don't have to really sweat anything going forward. And now, like, you're on the outside looking in possibly. You're in a wild card spot. You're playing Jacksonville. In theory, that should be a win, but, like, Jacksonville has stepped up to the plate from time to time, and we've seen how bizarre weeks have been through the NFL. Literally any given Sunday. Like, who knows at this point? But, I'll just say this, Jay. yeah, okay, like Mac Jones, part of the problem, obviously, but like to completely absolve of any issues is just asinine to me. Like throwing interceptions to cost the team, offensive possessions, take points off the board, especially with how bad that defense has been. You're going to have to throw to keep up and to put points on the board because your defense isn't doing anything. Those interceptions are costly. So I'm right there with you. I would put Mac Jones in the driver's seat by a hair in the blame pie because, like you said, like the offense is going to have to carry the weight from time to time. And right now, it doesn't look that way. And it just seems, maybe you could speak a little bit more towards this because I haven't really seen much of the press conferences. But like, is it still like a pity party in Foxborough with what's going on, and we didn't have good practices? Like, is there any more talk of that going on?
It's I don't know, but there's these alarming trends that people like Matt Castle and Tom Curran have said the last couple of days, saying there's some sort of unhingedness in the Patriots locker room, and they don't elaborate, and it's probably just something that they're hearing in passing and they're just passing along without full details, truthfully. But it's alarming to hear that, and then couple that with the comments that were made after the Indianapolis Colts game about feeling sorry for ourselves, not having the full bye week, having 12 days instead of 14 days, and all that put together does seem to be a little bit of a concern, and that's just something wild that I've never heard before coming out of the Patriots locker room. I mean, the Patriots locker room was always like no days off is a mantra of Bill Belichick, and it's, always doom and gloom, and you're going to outwork everybody. And now you've got stories coming out about how the locker room's not unhappy they got gypped on the bye week, and they feel sorry for themselves. It just seems like a mentally weak team. And that's something that I just don't think I'd ever thought I'd say about a Patriots team. I'd say that they were bad last year, right? They had lack of talent on the football field and they lost a lot of games. I just never thought they would be mentally weak. And that's something that's starting to seep through some of the narrative that's happening out in Boston.
Right. And real quick, is it me or was the coaching staff trying to force the ball to N'Keal Harry a lot on Sunday?
Well, that's a product, Puma, of them taking away Hunter Henry. If you saw the game plan and what the defensive coaches did for the Buffalo Bills, they knew that Hunter Henry was the guy that the Mac Jones looks to, and essentially they took him away. And obviously that's when Mac has to go to Jacoby Myers, who had a hell of a game because he ended up with, what was it, 6 catches, 59 yards. Hunter Henry had 1 for 9. I mean, Hunter Henry is by far our best weapon, and it was a narrative. It was a directive from the Buffalo Bills to stop him, and they did. And that's where Mac Jones got flustered. He had to go to the second and third read. He started, tap dancing in the pocket. He started becoming unsure what he was seeing, and that's when things started snowballing. And I will say this, I think that this happened last week as well against the Colts, Puma, where on the first drive he took a sack. And then he kind of got rattled immediately after that sack. I've noticed that he also took a sack against the Bills on that first drive. And then from there, his internal clock sped up and he started becoming rattled. And that's where my opening, dialogue about this whole situation was about his mental toughness. And it's something that I just don't see. Like, I'm not asking, listen, I understand he's a rookie quarterback. I understand I'm not going to ask him to go out there and throw 45 touchdowns. But some of the stuff as in leadership or being mentally tough, that stuff I thought he would come with, but it seems like he doesn't have that. I'm just getting the sense that he seems to be a little bit on the weaker side when it comes to his mental toughness. And coupled with the fact that we saw earlier on in the year with the Saints game, I mean, I don't feel good at all with what's happening right now, man.